Close your eyes and imagine a time long ago where the world felt slower, and the air carried the scent of olive trees, fresh bread, and distant fires from village homes. This is the Roman Empire, a vast and powerful realm that stretched from the green hills of Britain to the deserts of Egypt. But this isn't a story of battles and emperors. This is about daily life, quiet moments, and how ordinary people lived. Let's drift back together. The year is 100 AD, and you are waking up in a small Roman town, perhaps in the countryside near what is now southern France or northern Italy. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting a soft glow across your home, a modest stone house with a tiled roof. The walls are cool to the touch, and the floors are made of packed earth or mosaic tiles, depending on how wealthy your family is. If you're a farmer, your day starts early. The rooster has crowed, and outside your window, the fields wait. Wheat, grapes, olives, they're all part of the land's rhythm. You dress in a simple tunic, perhaps wool in the colder months, and wrap a belt around your waist. You splash cold water on your face from a ceramic basin. There's no glass mirror, just polished metal to catch a reflection. The smell of bread baking reaches your nose. If your household has a small clay oven, the bread was set to bake before dawn. It's rough, made with barley or wheat, sometimes flavored with herbs or cheese. You sit on a wooden stool or lean against a columned wall as you eat. Maybe you dip the bread in olive oil, or sip a weak wine mixed with water. For breakfast, the meal is simple, always modest. Outside, the world is already awake. Oxen pull carts along dusty roads, children chase each other in sandals, and merchants set up stalls in the forum. The streets aren't paved in most towns, but in cities, large stone slabs make up the roads. You can hear the clatter of wheels and hooves, the murmur of voices, and the occasional shout of a seller offering fish or figs. If you're a craftsman, your workshop is attached to your home or nearby. You might make pottery, sandals, or tools. The tools are iron and wooden, rough but effective. The work is physical, done with the strength of your arms and the skills passed down by your father. If you're a woman, your tasks include tending to children, weaving cloth, preparing food, and visiting the public fountains for water. Buckets are carried on shoulders or carts, and the fountain is also a place to talk, laugh, share news, and sometimes gossip. If you're a child, your life is both playful and strict. Boys might go to school if your family can afford it, sitting on benches with wax tablets and wooden styluses, learning to read and write Latin. Girls might stay home. It's learning household skills, but sometimes they also read if the family is educated. Afternoons are hot. In summer, the sun makes the stone walls feel like they radiate heat. People move slowly in the shade, avoiding the midday blaze. Many take a break, resting indoors while time passes quietly. Lunch is another light meal, maybe olives, cheese, nuts, and dried fruit. There's rarely meat, unless you're wealthy or live near a butcher. The empire is vast, and food comes from every corner. Spices from the east, wine from Gaul, grain from Egypt and garum, a salty fish sauce loved by many, add flavor to Roman meals. If you live in the city, things are different. The noise never stops. Rome itself is a city of marble, columns, crowded streets, and public baths. Bathing is a daily routine and a social event. You go to the thermae, the public bathhouse, where you first sit in the warm room, then the hot room, and finally rinse in the cold pool. Men and women usually bathe at different times. Slaves scrub your back. You relax, talk, and sometimes do business there. The baths smell of oil, sweat, and sometimes incense. Clothing is simple. Men wear tunics, sometimes with a toga for special occasions. Women wear stolas, long flowing garments, often with dyed fabric if they can afford it. Hair is pinned up with bone or metal pins, sometimes oiled, sometimes curled. If you're wealthy, your life is quieter, more controlled. You own land, slaves, and often have a large home with a courtyard, fountains, and colorful frescoes on the walls. You dine lying down, propped on cushions, served by attendants. Courses are brought one by one: eggs, vegetables, meats, and sweetened desserts. Honey is used instead of sugar. Entertainment varies. There are traveling performers, musicians, poets, who recite in the forum, and of course, the amphitheaters. Gladiator games are brutal but thrilling. People cheer, shout, and toss flowers into the arena. But you may also enjoy plays, pantomimes, or quiet readings of poetry in someone's home. Life isn't easy. Disease is common. Medicine is primitive, and people often turn to gods and charms for healing. Superstition fills daily life. You avoid certain days, wear talismans, and make offerings at household shrines, the Lares and Penates, guardians of your family. Religion is everywhere. There are temples in every city. Offerings are made with incense and wine. Some worship Jupiter, Mars, Venus, or more local deities. Others whisper of new beliefs from the East Mithras, Isis, or even a new group who meet in secret and speak of one God and peace. The sun starts to set. You return home. Dinner is more filling. You sit with family and talk. There are no phones, no distractions, only voices, and the soft light of oil lamps flickering on stone walls. Maybe there's music, a flute, or a lyre. You go to bed early. The mattress is stuffed with straw or wool. The night is quiet, except for the wind through olive trees, the howl of a dog, and the distant clink of a guard's armor.
Rice.
Tomorrow will come early, just like today. As the night deepens in the Roman world, the streets grow quieter. The flicker of oil lamps glows softly behind the shuttered windows of homes and inns. The warmth of the day fades, replaced by a gentle breeze that carries the scent of earth, smoke, and distant animals bedding down. In the countryside, farmers settle in after their long labor under the sun. Their skin is darkened by years of harvests, their hands rough and scarred from pruning vines, sowing seeds and pressing olives. But now, they gather with family, seated on wooden stools around a low table. Children lean into their parents, sharing simple stories, giggling at jokes about animals or neighbors. Candles burn low as the mother doles out the evening's meal, a hearty porridge, perhaps thickened with lentils or flavored with leeks. There is quiet comfort in this ritual, repeated every day, grounded in the same rhythm as the seasons. Life in the Roman Empire moves with nature, not against it. People rise with the sun and rest with the moon. There are no alarms or bright lights, only the rustle of trees and the occasional owl. In towns and cities, though, the night doesn't fully sleep. Watchmen patrol with torches. Dogs bark behind gates. Somewhere, a drunk stumbles from a tavern, singing off-key. The taverns, or popeni, are small, lively places where laborers gather after work. They drink watered wine, throw dice, talk about politics, and share gossip. The walls are covered in graffiti, some of it crude, some of it poetic. Lovers carve their initials, soldiers boast of victories, and tradesmen advertise their services. Not far from these noisy corners, the wealthy elite retreat to their villas. The evening in a Roman villa is calm and filled with luxury. In a garden courtyard, a small fountain trickles beside trimmed hedges and marble statues. The host might read aloud from scrolls, perhaps Virgil, Ovid, or Cicero, or listen as a musician plucks the lyre. Slaves move silently, offering figs, honey cakes, and cool wine. In these homes, time seems to pause, cushioned by wealth. But even here, the Roman night brings dreams and shadows. People believe in spirits and omens. They place protective charms by their beds, hang herbs to ward off evil, and sometimes whisper prayers before sleep. The world feels both known and mysterious. In another part of the empire, far from the center, a Roman soldier lies in his tent on the frontier. He is stationed at a fort along the Rhine where the cold bites even in early autumn. His armor is stored neatly by his side, and his sword rests within reach. He thinks of home, maybe in Italia or a small village in Hispania. Letters are tucked beneath his head, worn and reread many times. Tomorrow he will train, repair walls, or stand watch. But tonight, wrapped in his cloak, he closes his eyes to the soft snoring of comrades and the far-off rustling of wild animals. He is a piece in the great machine of Rome, and though his life is hard, he is proud. Roman soldiers are disciplined, well-fed, and respected. Their boots mark the roads that tie the empire together, roads that stretch for thousands of miles, connecting port cities, mountains, deserts, and lush valleys. These roads carry not just soldiers, but goods, ideas, and stories. A trader in Alexandria might sell spices brought by sea, packed in jars and carried across Africa, loaded onto ships and hauled into Roman markets. There, a woman might buy saffron for her kitchen or incense for her shrine. The market is the heartbeat of every Roman town. Merchants shout their prices, buyers haggle, coins clink, and the smell of fresh produce fills the air. Baskets overflow with dates, onions, garlic, eggs, fish, and herbs. Pottery stands in neat rows. There are stalls for sandals, cloaks, bronze tools, and even small toys carved from wood or clay. For many Romans, their entire day revolves around this space. A senator might pass through, flanked by slaves, and nod at the baker whose bread he buys daily. A teacher might lecture under the portico, drawing letters into the dust. A mother might scold a child trying to steal a fig. This is life noise, colorful, alive. And yet, behind it all, there's a quiet order. Aqueducts carry water from mountains into towns, allowing fountains to flow and baths to steam. Engineers have shaped the world to serve the people. Even in small villages, the influence of Rome is visible. Latin is spoken everywhere, though accents and local words mix in. The coins bear the emperor's face. The calendar follows Roman holidays. Every city has its forum, its temples, its baths. The empire has unified a world that once felt scattered. At home, families keep their own traditions. A girl helps her grandmother weave wool into cloth. A boy follows his father into the workshop, learning how to mold clay, saw wood, or hammer iron. Skills pass from one hand to another, generation to generation. Weddings are celebrated with laughter, dancing, and garlands of flowers. People drink, sing, and bless the union, with hopes of strong children and good harvests. Death, too, is treated with respect.
Oh.
Funeral processions wind through streets, with mourners wearing dark clothing and musicians playing soft dirges. Tombs line the roads outside cities, engraved with names and messages of love. Even in death, Romans believe in memory, in honoring the past, in being remembered. The seasons roll on. Spring brings new life to the fields. Summer is hot, slow, and fragrant with ripening fruit. Autumn is harvest time, filled with carts and laughter. Winter is quiet, a time to stay close to the fire, to tell stories, to rest. Holidays punctuate the year. Saturnalia, the festival of Saturn, is one of the most joyful. People give gifts, servants are treated like masters for a day, and laughter fills the air. There are parades, feasts, and games. Children look forward to it all year. In the countryside, shepherds tend their flocks. They sleep under stars, wrapped in thick cloaks, listening to the bleating of sheep and the whispers of wind. They know the hills like old friends. Their dogs are loyal, their hands calloused, their lives simple but peaceful. In the ports, sailors prepare to leave with the tide. Ships creak, ropes snap, and sails flap in the wind. Cargo is loaded, blessings are whispered to Neptune, and families wave goodbye from the shore. Months will pass before they return. The sea is both path and danger, but trade must flow, and so must stories. In the villas of poets, words are written that will echo for centuries. They write of love, loss, heroism, and home. These are the quiet thinkers of Rome, who sit in shaded gardens, their fingers stained with ink, their minds full of dreams. Yes. And still, the empire turns. Bakers rise before dawn. Midwives tend to newborn cries. Teachers trace letters into wax. Cleaners sweep the streets. Priests offer incense. Gladiators train. The world moves in quiet repetition, anchored in tradition, wrapped in sunlight and shadow. Far from the cities and the dense forests of Germania or the mountains of Armenia, others live beyond the Roman walls. They trade with Rome, fight with Rome, learn from Rome. The edges of the empire are alive with exchange and conflict. But in the center, life feels stable, predictable, rooted in stone and law. As the stars appear once more and the moon rises over the rooftops and hills, people close their eyes again. Children sleep beside siblings, holding stuffed dolls of wool. Lovers whisper under woven blankets. Old men doze in chairs. Dogs curl beside fires. And Rome continues, vast, proud, and filled with ordinary lives, just like yours. They loved, they feared, they worked, they dreamed, just as we do. And though the centuries have passed, their footprints still rest beneath our streets, their words linger in our language, their stories drift through the dust of time. Imagine a quiet morning in a Roman province, far from the capital. Maybe it's in the sun-warmed hills of Hispania, or the soft green valleys of Gaul. A gentle mist still lingers above the fields.
Oh.
And the first light of dawn turns the stone roads a soft golden color. A farmer walks slowly to the edge of his land.
Ow.
He carries a wooden hoe in one hand. His shoulders are relaxed, his pace unhurried. The earth is cool beneath his feet. Birds call from the cypress trees. The breeze carries the smell of thyme, fresh hay, and the faint smoke from early morning fires. Each day begins like this. Not with urgency, but with a rhythm that feels older than memory. In nearby towns, shopkeepers lift wooden shutters. They sweep dust from their doorways. The butcher sharpens his knives. The baker opens his oven and leans in to check the loaves. Their crusts are dark and split, steaming with warmth. Children run between stalls. They laugh and play while their parents check vegetables for bruises. They run their hands across folded cloth brought in from distant ports. Some fabrics are dyed deep purple, others shimmer in rich blue. They are rare and they cost much. A potter lays out his newest bowls and jars to dry in the sun. His hands are lined with clay and thyme. He works with patience and focus. As he smooths the edge of a pot, he hums an old tune his grandfather once sang. Nearby, a street performer plays a reed pipe. He dances slowly, smiling as passersby toss coins at his feet. The town is alive, not with noise, but with gentle movement. Everything has a place, and everything is unfolding just as it should. Across the empire, where the sea meets the land, harbors begin to stir at Ostia. The great port of Rome, ships rest in long rows. Their sails are furled, their ropes are tied. Dock workers haul baskets of grain, jugs of wine, salted fish, and strange fruits wrapped in palm leaves. Traders shout in Latin and Greek. Other voices mix in from the east and north. The harbor is filled with faces and languages, and the sharp smell of salt, sweat, and spice. Fishermen mend their nets.
Ow.
Boys wade into the shallows, hoping to catch crabs. The air smells of seaweed and brine. From nearby stalls, the scent of roasted chickpeas and fried pastries drifts into the breeze. A ship prepares to sail east, with cargo bound for Antioch or Alexandria. Another returns from Britannia, carrying tin, wool, and the damp air of colder lands. The sailors are tired but proud. They know the stars, the tides, and the safe harbors between. In the center of Rome, the heart of the empire beats steadily. The forum is already busy. Senators in white togas speak with careful words and precise gestures. Just nearby, a philosopher debates with students. They sit on temple steps, shaded by tall marble columns. He speaks of virtue and fate, of courage and justice. Some students listen closely, their stare-off lost in quiet thought. Above them, statues look on without expression. Stone faces carved long ago, watching the city grow and change. At the base of Capitoline Hill, a woman pours wine onto a small altar. She murmurs a prayer to Juno and touches her necklace for luck. Then she slips away into the crowd. Inside the temples, the air is still and cool. The scent of incense lingers. Melted wax pools in shallow bowls. Priest arranges offerings, fruit, bread, small clay figures. Candles glow softly against the walls. It feels quiet here. Time moves slower, sacred. In the countryside just beyond the city, large villas sit on quiet hills. Olive trees and wheat fields stretch out around them. A nobleman strolls through his garden. His hands are folded behind his back. He stops to admire a rose in bloom. Slaves tend the orchard. Inside, scribes copy scrolls by hand. Their writing tools are thin and sharp. Their ink is dark and steady. The villa walls are painted with colorful scenes. Myths and oceans and flowers. Each room tells a story. The dining room is still now, but soon it will be filled. Cushions placed just so. Guests will recline. There will be roasted duck, boiled eggs with pine nuts, honey-glazed fruits. Laughter will echo off the painted walls. Music will play. Poems will be shared, and then it will be quiet again. The sound of cicadas in the trees will take over. Farther east, in desert cities under the sun, life moves differently. In Judea, in Egypt, People rise early for trade and prayer. They carry baskets filled with pomegranates, fresh herbs, and long strips of cloth. The sun rises fast. By midday, everyone slows down. Stalls close. Cloth is pulled across doorways. People rest. Even animals lie in the shade. Camels fold their legs and kneel near wells. Dogs curl beneath fig trees. Water is precious. It travels through stone aqueducts, is stored deep underground. People take only what they need. Bathhouses are smaller here, but they still matter. Rituals differ, but the goal is the same: cleanliness, peace, renewal. In homes, people sit cross-legged on rugs. Meals are eaten with hands from shared bowls. There is lentil stew, flatbread, grilled vegetables. Dates, sweet and soft, are a favorite. Children carve animals from smooth stones. They listen to the prayers of elders. Stories are told in soft voices. These stories are not written. They are passed from voice to ear, remembered word by word. In the northern parts of the empire, forests are deep and the air is sharp. Fires are kept burning all through the night. Wolves can be heard far off. People wear thick cloaks. They stay near the hearth. Houses are made of timber. Roofs are steep to push off snow. Yet even here, Rome has left its mark. Bathhouses and temples stand in the center of town. Stones from far away were carried here to build them. Latin is spoken, though the accent is new. Roman coins are used in trade. Roman laws guide the markets. In a schoolhouse, a teacher writes Latin verbs on a wooden board. His breath curls in the cold air. Children sit on benches. They recite each word with care. Some are curious, some are sleepy. One whispers a joke to the other. A soldier stands nearby, watching. His armor is stiff and cold. His boots are thick with mud. Still, he smiles at the children. He feels pride in his post. He believes in the work. He believes in Rome. When the sky darkens again, candles are lit. Scrolls are rolled and placed in baskets. Wooden doors are locked. The sound of dogs barking fades into the night. Homes are quiet. People lie down on straw or wool. They wrap themselves tightly. Someone sings a lullaby. Another whispers a prayer. Sleep arrives softly. It always does, when the day has been full and the night feels safe. Even the stars seem to pause. Over the entire empire, from tiny huts to grand palaces, there is a thread that connects it all. A shared rhythm, a sense of place. This is what life in Rome gives its people. Not just law and power, but a feeling of belonging. The roads carry news and dreams. The sea brings new people, new ideas. Everything is part of something bigger. And even if battles rage at the edges or leaders shift in marble halls, most people care only about the next harvest, the next festival, the next clear morning. They care about a child's laugh, a warm loaf of bread, a night of quiet rain. These are the things that make a life. These are the moments remembered. As the moon rises again and lamps flicker out, the Roman world exhales and rests. Still strong, alive, and you, closing your eyes in this ancient world, are a part of it. You wake once more in a land shaped by time, where marble ruins are not yet ruins, and every column stands tall against the sky. The world is bathed in the pale light of morning, and the air carries the scent of damp stone, warm bread, and crushed herbs beneath sandals. In a quiet Roman village nestled between green hills and winding rivers, the people are already beginning their day. The streets are narrow and worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Clay pots hang from windows. Ivy drapes lazily over weathered archways. A boy rushes past with a basket of fruit carefully chosen for the morning meal. The baker wipes his hands on his apron as the smell of fresh loaves floats into the air. You can hear the coo of doves on rooftops, the creak of wooden carts, and the soft hum of voices echoing between stone walls. This morning is no different than the one before it, or the one to come. There is a rhythm to Roman life that holds steady like the beat of a drum just beneath the surface. Fields beyond the town stretch wide. It's golden with wheat and dotted with olive trees whose silvery leaves shimmer in the light breeze. Farmers move slowly across their land, oxen dragging plows through soil that has fed generations. The sun is gentle, not yet harsh, and the work is done with patient hands that know every stone and every root. Small homes, women prepare the first meal of the day. Its flatbreads are warmed, olives are sorted, and wine is diluted with water in simple clay cups. Children help in clumsy, eager ways. A girl fans the fire while her brother counts figs into a bowl. Their mother smiles, saying little, content with the soft murmur of home. Further along the road, a merchant readies his stall. Rolls of cloth shining in deep reds and purples are arranged carefully beside baskets of spices from distant lands. Cinnamon, cumin, pepper, and cardamom. Their scents are sharp and warm, each telling a story of a ship that braved the sea, of camels that crossed deserts under starry skies. He smooths the fabric with practiced hands and waits for the bustle to begin. And soon it does. The forum awakens like a sleeping giant, stirring as footsteps gather and voices rise. It is the heart of every Roman town, where politics and trade, gossip and religion all intertwine. A senator, dressed in a clean white toga, debates in firm tones with a rival over matters of grain distribution and temple funding. Artisans stand nearby, waiting to hear news that might change the price of copper or the demand for their craft. Young students sit at the base of statues, scratching Latin verses into wax tablets as their teachers recite poems of old. Temples flank the forum, their columns high, their steps polished smooth by feet seeking divine favor. A woman kneels, eyes closed, offering a prayer for her husband's safe return. She leaves behind a coin, barely worth much, but valuable in intent. Inside the temple, cool shadows offer relief from the sun as candles flicker in the still air. Statues of gods look on silently, accepting every whispered hope. The bathhouse is open mid-morning. Here, Romans gather not just to clean, but to connect. Men and women at different hours pass through chambers of increasing warmth, easing their muscles and minds. In the tepidarium, soft steam wraps around the body like a familiar blanket. In the caldarium, heat presses gently against the skin, and in the frigidarium, the cold water renews the senses. Laughter echoes between stone walls. Deals are made. Jokes are told. The clatter of dice echoes as men gamble in corners, splashing water and quoting verses between bets. Outside, a chorus of hammering begins. Builders repair a damaged column, their hands white with dust. The clang of bronze and the rasp of iron shaping stone speak to the industry of the Roman people. Everything is built with care and meant to last. Even the roads, stretching endlessly across the empire, bear the mark of discipline and design. Smooth, straight, lined with stones. They carry more than soldiers. They carry culture, language, letters, memories. From Britannia to Syria, these roads connect lives that will never meet, yet all belong to the same story. In the countryside, a villa overlooks vineyards heavy with grapes. Slaves move through the rows in silence, harvesting carefully, filling wicker baskets under the eye of the steward. Inside the villa, a nobleman reclines in the atrium, reading a scroll while sipping watered wine. His wife arranges flowers in tall vases, her fingers moving like wind across still water. A cat dozes beneath a bench. Servants glide through rooms painted with stories of gods and sea beasts, their walls alive with color and motion. Meals here are long and deliberate. Guests recline on couches, and each dish is brought slowly, one after another. There is conversation, sometimes soft, sometimes spirited. Dried fruit with honey, roasted game with herbs, cheese with walnuts. Wine flows, music plays, and poets recite between courses. Outside, torches flicker in the breeze, casting long shadows on the marble floor. But even here, where luxury softens every edge, the night comes as it does for all. Lamps are lit, doors are closed. Silence folds gently over the home like a curtain of dusk. Far away in a simple wooden home, a blacksmith finishes his work. The forge still glows faintly, and the tools are hung neatly on hooks. His daughter waits by the hearth, her eyes heavy with sleep, her doll tucked beneath one arm. He lifts her gently and carries her to bed, humming an old song as her breath slows and deepens. His wife whispers a prayer and covers her with a woolen blanket. Outside, the stars are clear. The moon climbs quietly, casting a silver path over the rooftops, the fields, the distant hills. In a barracks near the frontier, soldiers clean their gear by torchlight. Some write letters, Others play board games or sing songs from home. One stares into the fire, thinking of his family, his village, the familiar smell of his mother's cooking. He tightens his cloak around his shoulders and lies back, the cold earth beneath him, the stars above. He finds comfort in the repetition, in the shared purpose. The empire is large, but he belongs to it, and it belongs to him. In every town, every outpost, every quiet home tucked beneath the sky, someone sleeps now. A child clutches a doll made from scraps of cloth. Shepherd dreams of green pastures and soft rain. A widow lights a single candle and places it by a faded painting of her husband. And somewhere a poet lies awake, tracing verses in the air, waiting for the dawn. This is the Roman Empire, not of emperors and conquests, but of people. People who love and worry and laugh. People who fish in quiet lakes and pray at worn altars. People who mend shoes, teach children, press olives, carve statues, and build lives that, while forgotten in the annals of power, are no less important. The empire thrives not because of its legions, but because of its rhythms, its seasons, its mothers and merchants and masons. And even now, so many centuries later, you can still feel them in the ruins, in the language, in the roads. The way the world once turned, slowly, under the watchful eye of the sun and the steady heartbeat of Rome. As another day closes over the vast Roman Empire, the soft veil of evening drapes itself across rooftops, gardens, fields, and hillsides. The sun has begun its quiet descent, leaving behind long golden shadows and a sky brushed in warm pastels. There is no rush, no sudden change, only the slow, peaceful turning of time. In a modest home tucked along the edge of a provincial village, a woman carefully lights an oil lamp. The wick flickers, then steadies, casting a gentle glow over the small altar in the corner of the room. There, beside tiny carved figures of the household gods, she places a pinch of grain and a drop of wine. Her lips move in a silent prayer for protection, for health, for quiet dreams. Across the room, her children sit cross-legged on woven mats, their laughter fading as they lean into one another. They have spent the day outside, climbing trees, helping gather herbs, chasing after goats. Now they are tired, but warm, and they feel safe. Their mother hums a tune as she brushes dirt from their cheeks and tucks them beneath soft wool blankets. In a villa beyond the city walls, the evening follows a different rhythm. Slaves carry polished trays bearing honeyed dates, wine chilled with snow brought from mountain stores, and platters of roasted duck and vegetables. The air is fragrant with rosemary and thyme. Guests recline on couches, speaking slowly, their gestures wide and smooth, every word stretched by comfort and ease. Outside, the garden is lit with small lamps set among the hedges. A musician plucks gently at a lyre. The night is still, the only sound a rustle of leaves or the quiet lap of water in a marble basin. One guest recites a poem he has written, his voice low and clear, the words flowing like a quiet stream. The others close their eyes and nod. There is no urgency in their gathering. Only the shared joy of being alive in a world that feels whole, that feels understood. Not far away, in a military outpost that borders the empire's edges, a very different sort of evening has begun. A group of soldiers finish their final patrol. Their boots leave tracks in the soft dust, and their armor reflects the last streaks of sunlight. Inside the wooden barracks, they remove helmets and breastplates with a quiet sigh, the weight of the day lifted. There is banter, but it's low and tired. One man sharpens his blade slowly, another reads a letter again for the 20th time. A third folds his cloak and places it beneath his head. Their world is smaller, more immediate, but the sky above them is the same. It holds the same stars, the same quiet promise of rest, and they too feel the pull of sleep. Elsewhere in the empire, a midwife walks quickly through narrow streets. Her sandals slap softly against the stone, and her hands are steady. She has done this many times. A new life waits to arrive, and she is calm, prepared. When she enters the home, she greets the mother, places warm cloth on her forehead, and whispers comforting words. Hours pass, marked only by breathing, by soft instructions, by the stillness of those waiting outside. When the cry finally comes, sharp and high, it pierces the silence like a bird's call in the morning. Relief floods the room. A child is born. He's wrapped tightly, held gently, and placed beside his mother. The midwife nods, says nothing more, and slips quietly into the night. Somewhere in the hills, shepherds lie beneath the stars. They listen to the sheep moving gently through grass, the occasional soft bleat, the distant call of an owl. Their fires are small and smokeless. They do not speak much. One hums a tune passed down from his grandfather. Another carves a figure from a piece of driftwood. They are alone, but not lonely. The sky is their roof, and the rhythm of the animals is as familiar to them as their own breath. Back in the city, the last stalls of the forum are packed away. Crates are stacked, awnings rolled up, coins counted. The baker locks his doors. The sandal maker wipes dust from his counter. The tavern owner nods goodnight to a pair of regulars. There are no clocks, but everyone knows it is time. A child waits for his father at the edge of the street. When he arrives, tired but smiling, the child takes his hand and they walk home in silence. The way lit only by oil lamps mounted on walls and the soft moonlight filtering through the archways. In the upper floors of an insula, a narrow apartment building of wood and brick, a family prepares for bed. The space is small, but every item has its place. A jug of water near the window, a basket of clothes in the corner, a bundle of dried herbs hanging near the entrance. The father secures the shutters. The mother smooths the bedding. The children curl up together, heads close, sharing the last whispers of the day. A dog lies at their feet, already dreaming. Somewhere far from cities and roads, a fisherman wakes in the middle of the night. He slips out of bed quietly, gathers his nets, and walks barefoot toward the water.
Ow.
The beach is silent, the waves slow and dark. He wades into the shallows, casting his nets with practiced ease. Above him, stars blink through drifting clouds. He hums under his breath, not a song, but something rhythmic and wordless. The net drifts, then tugs, then fills. This is how he provides, not with great fortune, but with constancy, with motion, with faith in the sea. Elsewhere, a young woman sits by her window with a wax tablet in her lap. She writes slowly, carefully forming each letter, each thought. She writes about the day, about the garden, about the way her brother laughed at supper. She writes about the temple and how the doves gathered near the fountain. She writes because it helps her see, because it helps her remember. When she is done, she places the stylus aside and stares out at the rooftops and the sky. She watches the clouds move. She does not speak. She only watches. In the quiet corners of the empire, priests extinguish candles in sacred halls. Scribes roll up scrolls and store them in clay jars. Musicians set their instruments down. Potters cover their clay to keep it soft for morning. Teacher erases his board and folds his notes. Life winds down, not with finality, but with softness. It is the breath before sleep, the silence before dreams. And so it is across the world of Rome. From island towns to desert forts, from mountain villages to coastal harbors, every home, every soul, touched by the same turning. The empire does not sleep, not entirely, but it rests, it exhales. And the stillness that follows is not empty. It is full, full of warmth, full of meaning, full of the lives that live beneath its sky. The sky is still dark. A thin mist hugs the rooftops. Somewhere a rooster calls once, then falls silent again. In a quiet home tucked behind a line of cypress trees, an old man rises slowly from his bed. His joints ache in the cool air. He wraps a wool cloak around his shoulders. He walks out into the garden barefoot, his steps soft on the damp ground. The grass is wet with dew. He kneels by a small altar tucked beneath a fig tree. There he whispers a few words. He is not asking for anything. He is giving thanks for the silence, for the years, for the simple fact that he is still here. His wife watches from the doorway, holding a warm cup of barley drink. She has lit a lamp. The flame sways gently. The two of them say nothing. After many years, words are no longer needed. In the street nearby, a young couple walks slowly. They pass the baker's stall. The loaves are already cooling on wooden trays. The smell fills the street. The man reaches into his pouch and hands over to small coins. The baker nods. The woman takes the bread, breaks off a piece, and offers it to the man. They share it in silence. A small child runs past them. His mother chases after him, her voice full of joy and tiredness at once. Her hair is wrapped in a cloth, her hands are flour-dusted. She scoops up the child and kisses his cheek. The boy laughs. Then they disappear into the narrow alley between the shops. These are the moments that fill a day, moments that pass unnoticed unless you stop to see them. In a town square, an artist stands before a wall. He holds a small jar of red pigment in one hand and a fine brush in the other. He is repainting an old sign. His strokes are slow, his hand steady. Each letter is shaped with care. Children gather nearby to watch him work, and one asks a question. Another guesses the next color. The artist smiles but keeps painting. This sign is for a taverna that has been here for 30 years. The owners are kind. They serve chickpea stew and wine, and let old men tell the same stories every evening. The paint is more than decoration. It is memory. It is pride. Across town, a teacher speaks softly to his students. They sit in a shaded courtyard. Birds call from the high walls. He holds a worn scroll in his hand and reads slowly, letting each line linger. It is a story of gods and love and war. The students listen. One girl closes her eyes to imagine it more clearly. Another boy begins to copy the lines into his tablet. These are not just words. They are a way to understand life, to feel connected to something deeper. In the hills beyond the city, a farmer leads his donkey up a winding path. The sun is rising now. The sky is pale orange. He carries a basket of figs to sell. He walks this path every morning. He passes the same stones, the same trees, the same bent olive branch near the bend. The donkey knows the way without being told. Farther along the road, he stops and greets a traveler. They speak briefly. They share a few dried dates. Then each continues on, their footsteps fading into the rustling quiet. In a villa beside the coast, a woman opens the shutters to let in the salt breeze. She is alone today. Her husband has gone to the city. The servants are tending to the vineyard. She walks through the atrium slowly, trailing her fingers along the marble edge of a fountain. The water ripples gently. Her sandals tap softly on the mosaic tiles. In one room, she sits by a window and begins to write. She writes to no one in particular, just thoughts. She writes about the wind, the waves, the way light falls through the fig leaves outside. She smiles to herself. Later she will burn the letter, but the act of writing soothes her. It helps her feel centered. At the edge of the empire, near the borderlands where Roman power grows thinner, a healer tends to the sick. Her hut is small and built of mud and straw, but it smells sweet from the herbs she hangs in the rafters. A man sits quietly on a stool as she wraps his hand in linen soaked in honey and myrrh. He winces but does not speak. She offers him a fig and a few words in a low voice. Outside, the sun is harsh, but inside there is shade and care and something very close to peace. She works not for coins but for trade. Some bring her wine. Others bring bread or eggs. She keeps a small cat that curls around her ankles as she works. Life here is different, but no less full. In the heart of Rome, beneath the tall arches of the aqueducts, life moves faster. Carts roll by. Senators argue in courtyards. Musicians play near fountains. Street performers juggle fruit and flame. There is energy in the city, but even here, people find quiet moments. A boy feeds pigeons near a statue. A cook leans against a doorway, sipping broth. An old woman lights a candle before entering a temple. Each moment is a pause, a breath, a reminder of the thread that runs through all lives. As the sun climbs high, shadows grow short, the streets grow hotter. People retreat indoors, shops close, curtains are drawn, children nap, dogs sleep in doorways. The city sighs into midday, and for a while, everything is still. Then slowly, as afternoon leans into evening, life begins to stir again. Markets reopen. Voices rise once more. The taverna fills with the sounds of cups clinking and chairs sliding across stone. The baker's wife sweeps the doorstep. A young man plays a song on a wooden flute. In one home, a group gathers to mourn a lost friend. They share olives and bread. They speak of the past, not loudly, just enough to keep the memory alive. In another home, a girl prepares for her wedding. She braids her hair carefully. Her mother adjusts the folds of her dress. Her sisters hang garlands over the doorway. In her chest, her heart beats fast. Outside, a guest arrives with a basket of pomegranates. Life continues. Joy and sorrow side by side. By nightfall, lanterns flicker in the streets once again. The air smells of warm oil, crushed mint, and wood smoke. Man walks home slowly. He carries a loaf under one arm and a clay jug of wine in the other. He is tired, but the kind of tired that feels good. It's the kind that follows honest work. Yes. The stars begin to appear one by one. People return to their homes. Lamps are lit, doors are closed. The world softens again. In the quiet, the sounds are few. A whisper, a laugh, the creak of a bed, a dog shifting in sleep. The empire does not sleep completely, but it rests. And in that rest, there is a kind of magic. A stillness that holds everything together. Every road, every home, every heart. Nice. This is the Roman Empire, not of marble and conquest, but of moments like these. Soft, ordinary, beautiful. And now, as you listen, as you let yourself drift further into this world, know that you too are part of this rhythm. A breath among many, a dream among millions, quiet peace of a vast and sleeping world. The wind moves gently through tall grass on the outskirts of a Roman town, where the sound of the breeze blends with the distant chirping of insects and the quiet hum of life winding down. A young shepherd sits beneath a tree, his back resting against the bark, watching the last of the sun melt into the horizon. His flock is calm, grazing nearby. His dog lies beside him, ears twitching at each passing sound, but eyes half closed in comfort. He holds a reed flute in his lap and plays a soft tune that seems to drift into the warm dusk. In a small home, just beyond the fields, a mother teaches her daughter how to weave. Their hands move in rhythm, pulling threads through the loom. The mother's voice is calm as she explains each step. The girl listens, her fingers clumsy at first, then more confident. They sit together with the door open, the fading light coloring the walls in soft gold. A bowl of olives rests nearby, untouched. The evening air carries the scent of lavender, smoke, and dry earth. Not far away, an old storyteller leans against a stone bench in the town square. A few children sit at his feet, waiting for the tale they've heard many times before. He smiles, adjusts the folds of his tunic, and begins. His voice is slow and steady. He speaks of a hero who once sailed the seas, who spoke with gods and outwitted monsters. The children listen wide-eyed, leaning closer. A mother watches from a distance, holding her baby gently. She smiles at the old man's words. She's heard them too, years ago, when she was just a girl. Story is part of her, and now it becomes part of her child. Along the main road, travelers arrive in town as the gates are closing. Cloaks are dusty, their sandals worn. They speak softly to the guards, who nod and open the heavy doors. Inside the city, the noise of the day is nearly gone. A few shopkeepers still sweep their steps. One old man sets out a lantern, its flame small but bright. The market stalls are empty, their cloth covers tied down, their baskets tucked away for the night. The stones beneath their feet are warm from the sun, but cooling quickly. A dog barks once, then curls up by a doorway. In the hills above, a villa glows with soft lamplight. A feast has ended. The guests have gone. Servant clears plates, gathering bowls and empty jugs. The master of the house stands on the balcony, looking out toward the sea. He hears the wind moving through the trees, the distant hoot of an owl. He closes his eyes for a moment, breathing slowly, grateful for the quiet. The servants' quarters, soft voices rise in laughter. They sit together on woven mats, sharing leftover bread and slices of fig. One begins to hum, another joins in. The song is old and sweet and low, carrying no farther than the doorway, but enough to fill the room with peace. Across the city, in a scholar's home, a boy practices writing by the flicker of an oil lamp. His father watches him, correcting a letter here, guiding his hand there. The scroll is worn at the edges, the ink pot nearly dry. The boy yawns, but keeps writing. His father nods in approval, places a hand on his shoulder. They say little. Words are not always needed. They share the silence, and it says enough. In a small shrine tucked behind a bakery, A young priest lights incense. Smoke curls upward, thin and slow, carrying prayers into the night. He bows his head, touches his chest, and offers a single word to the gods. It is not spoken aloud. It is felt. He remains still, eyes closed, until the incense fades. Then he opens the door and steps into the cool air, his heart lighter. In a tower near the city wall, a watchman leans on the stone edge. His eyes scan the dark hills, the outlines of trees swaying in the breeze. He hears the rustle of leaves, the whisper of grass. His torch burns beside him. He knows these sounds. He knows the rhythm of night. He hums softly to himself, a tune learned long ago, and waits. In a nearby orchard, a farmer checks on his trees. He walks between the rows, hands brushing low branches. The fruit is nearly ripe. He presses his thumb gently against a fig and nods. Tomorrow will be harvest. He ties the gate behind him and heads home. His wife waits at the door with a clay cup. He takes it, drinks slowly. They do not speak. They simply stand there, side by side, watching the sky deepen into blue and then black. On the edge of the city, near a quiet stream, a small campfire flickers. A group of travelers sits around it, warming their hands, roasting flatbread on hot stones. One of them tells a story, his voice low, his words slow and careful. The others listen, their faces lit by the soft orange glow. The story is one of loss and return, of finding something long believed gone. They nod, not needing every detail, understand the meaning. The stars above twinkle faintly. Thin breeze moves across the water. They fall silent again, each caught in their own thoughts. In a courtyard garden, a girl lies on her back beneath a fig tree. She looks at the stars and counts them quietly. Her fingers trace shapes in the air. A bird sings once, then stops. Her eyes close. She dreams before sleep even takes her. The night moves on, quietly, softly. 1 hour folds into the next. Fires dim, voices fade. The wind slows. The city breathes in and out. Even the sea seems to hush its waves for a time. Beneath it all, in the bones of every road and stone, there is a deep stillness, kind of knowing, kind of peace. The empire holds its people close, like a mother gathering children under a warm blanket. Nothing is rushed, nothing forced. Everything simply is. And in that isness, there is rest. There is memory. There is something sacred. You feel it now in the weight of your eyelids, in the calm of your chest. The world of Rome surrounds you. It invites you not just to see it, but to feel it, to lie down in its rhythm, to sleep beneath its stars. And so you do. The wind moves gently through tall grass on the outskirts of a Roman town, where the sound of the breeze blends with the distant chirping of insects and the quiet hum of life winding down. A young shepherd sits beneath a tree, his back resting against the bark, watching the last of the sun melt into the horizon. His flock is calm, grazing nearby. His dog lies beside him, ears twitching at each passing sound, but eyes half closed in comfort. He holds a reed flute in his lap and plays a soft tune that seems to drift into the warm dusk. In a small home, just beyond the fields, a mother teaches her daughter how to weave. Their hands move in rhythm, pulling threads through the loom. The mother's voice is calm as she explains each step. The girl listens, her fingers clumsy at first, then more confident. They sit together with the door open, the fading light coloring the walls in soft gold. A bowl of olives rests nearby, untouched. The evening air carries the scent of lavender, smoke, and dry earth. Not far away, an old storyteller leans against a stone bench in the town square. A few children sit at his feet, waiting for the tale they've heard many times before. He smiles, adjusts the folds of his tunic, and begins. His voice is slow and steady. He speaks of a hero who once sailed the seas, who spoke with gods and outwitted monsters. The children listen wide-eyed, leaning closer. A mother watches from a distance, holding her baby gently. She smiles at the old man's words. She's heard them too, years ago, when she was just a girl. Story is part of her, and now it becomes part of her child. Along the main road, travelers arrive in town as the gates are closing. Cloaks are dusty, their sandals worn. They speak softly to the guards, who nod and open the heavy doors. Inside the city, the noise of the day is nearly gone. A few shopkeepers still sweep their steps. One old man sets out a lantern, its flames small but bright. The market stalls are empty, their cloth covers tied down, their baskets tucked away for the night. The stones beneath their feet are warm from the sun, but cooling quickly. A dog barks once, then curls up by a doorway. In the hills above, a villa glows with soft lamplight. A feast has ended. The guests have gone. Servant clears plates, gathering bowls and empty jugs. The master of the house stands on the balcony, looking out toward the sea. He hears the wind moving through the trees, the distant hoot of an owl. He closes his eyes for a moment, breathing slowly, grateful for the quiet. The servants' quarters, soft voices rise in laughter. They sit together on woven mats, sharing leftover bread and slices of fig. One begins to hum, another joins in. The song is old and sweet and low, carrying no farther than the doorway, but enough to fill the room with peace. Across the city, in a scholar's home, a boy practices writing by the flicker of an oil lamp. His father watches him, correcting a letter here, guiding his hand there. The scroll is worn at the edges, the ink pot nearly dry. The boy yawns, but keeps writing. His father nods in approval, places a hand on his shoulder. They say little. Words are not always needed. They share the silence, and it says enough. In a small shrine tucked behind a bakery, a young priest lights incense. Smoke curls upward, thin and slow, carrying prayers into the night. He bows his head, touches his chest, and offers a single word to the gods. It is not spoken aloud. It is felt. He remains still, eyes closed, until the incense fades. Then he opens the door and steps into the cool air, his heart lighter. In a tower near the city wall, a watchman leans on the stone edge. His eyes scan the dark hills, the outlines of trees swaying in the breeze. He hears the rustle of leaves, the whisper of grass. His torch burns beside him. He knows these sounds. He knows the rhythm of night. He hums softly to himself, a tune learned long ago, and waits. In a nearby orchard, a farmer checks on his trees. He walks between the rows, hands brushing low branches. The fruit is nearly ripe. He presses his thumb gently against a fig and nods. Tomorrow will be harvest. He ties the gate behind him and heads home. His wife waits at the door with a clay cup. He takes it, drinks slowly. They do not speak. They simply stand there, side by side, watching the sky deepen into blue and then black. On the edge of the city, near a quiet stream, a small campfire flickers. A group of travelers sits around it, warming their hands, roasting flatbread on hot stones. One of them tells a story, his voice low, his words slow and careful. The others listen, their faces lit by the soft orange glow. The story is one of loss and return, of finding something long believed gone. They nod, not needing every detail, understand the meaning. The stars above twinkle faintly. Thin breeze moves across the water. They fall silent again, each caught in their own thoughts. In a courtyard garden, a girl lies on her back beneath a fig tree. She looks at the stars and counts them quietly. Her fingers trace shapes in the air. A bird sings once, then stops. Her eyes close. She dreams before sleep even takes her. The night moves on, quietly, softly. 1 hour folds into the next. Fires dim, voices fade. The wind slows. The city breathes in and out. Even the sea seems to hush its waves for a time. Beneath it all, in the bones of every road and stone, there is a deep stillness. Kind of knowing, kind of peace. The empire holds its people close, like a mother gathering children under a warm blanket. Nothing is rushed, nothing forced. Everything simply is. And in that isness, there is rest. There is memory. There is something sacred. You feel it now in the weight of your eyelids, in the calm of your chest. The world of Rome surrounds you. It invites you not just to see it, but to feel it, to lie down in its rhythm, to sleep beneath its stars. And so you do. The streets are empty now. The night air is cool and still. A cat walks silently along the edge of a fountain, pausing only to drink from the calm water before disappearing into the shadows. The sound of footsteps is gone. Doors are closed. Lamps have burned low. The city rests, not because it is tired, but because it trusts the darkness. It trusts the rhythm that follows every sunset. Inside a modest home, a father stirs in his sleep. He dreams of his childhood village, of the hill where he once flew a kite made of linen and sticks. of his mother calling him home with a warm smile and a loaf of bread. In another room, his son sleeps with a scroll clutched in his hands, still open to the last line he had read before his eyes closed. The words are fading from memory now, melting into dreams, but they planted something in him, a curiosity, a hunger to know, feeling that the world is wide and worth discovering. Beneath the stone floor, tucked in the earth, lie the remains of generations. Grandparents, great-grandparents, ancestors who once sat at this same hearth, once told stories, laughed, argued, and prayed. Their names may be forgotten, but the warmth they left behind still lives in the walls. It lingers like smoke in the beams of the ceiling, like light in the cracks of the window. And in this quiet hour, it keeps watch over the living. On the road outside the town, a caravan passes under the moonlight. The carts move slowly. The wheels creak softly. A merchant leads the way, his face calm. He hums a lullaby his mother once sang. Behind him, a young girl leans her head on a bundle of blankets. Her eyes blink slowly, then close. One of the oxen snorts and continues forward, steady and sure. Their journey is long, but tonight it feels gentle. The stars above them shine without hurry. They seem to guide, not command. Back in the city, a midwife rests in her small room. Her hands are tired, her knees ache, but her heart is full. Tonight she helped a child into the world, saw the first breath, heard the first cry. She touched a tiny hand that clutched her finger. She comforted a new mother who trembled with wonder and fear. Now she lies on her cot, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft drip of water from the eaves. Her eyes close slowly. The sounds of life are always near her, but tonight they are quiet. In a stable on the edge of the town, a horse shifts its weight and exhales. A stable boy sleeps on a pile of straw, one arm draped over a wooden bucket. His dreams are full of speed and open fields. He races chariots in his sleep. He wins. The crowd cheers. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks twice, then falls silent. The guard at the city wall adjusts his cloak and peers into the darkness. He sees nothing new, but he feels the shape of safety all around him. He knows this city. He knows its paths, its habits, its secrets. He leans back against the stone, and for a moment he smiles. On the second floor of a small home, a girl writes a final line in her wax tablet and blows out the lamp. Her room fills with moonlight. She lies on her side, watching the shadows dance across the ceiling. She doesn't know yet what she wants to be. A poet, perhaps, a teacher, a mother, a builder of temples. For now, she simply rests, and that is enough. Downstairs, her father tightens the last latch on the door. He touches the frame with his hand, as he always does, then turns away and joins his family. In the center of the city, the great fountains no longer run. The aqueducts are silent for the night. But the water still waits, cool and ready. In the darkness, marble statues of gods stand watch, their eyes unblinking, their forms untouched by time. They're not lonely. They have seen everything. They understand the cycles, the births, the feasts, the wars, the weddings, quiet hours between. They wait without needing. In a nearby temple, a candle still flickers. A priest has fallen asleep on the floor, robes wrapped tightly around him. The scent of incense lingers in the air. A bowl of offerings sits nearby, untouched. A small mouse climbs the edge, sniffs, then scurries away. Outside the temple walls, the city is still. In a home on the far end of the street, an old woman opens her eyes and looks toward the window. She cannot sleep, but she does not mind. She listens to the silence. It speaks to her. It tells her that the world is turning, that the stars are where they should be, that the night will pass as it always has. She smiles softly and closes her eyes again. Sleep will come. Across the empire, this same night touches every village and town. In the mountains of Thrace, a hunter curls beside his fire. In a villa near the coast of Africa, a scholar finishes one last sentence before sleep takes him. In the forests of Germania, a merchant lies wrapped in furs, dreaming of home. All of them under the same moon. All of them breathing the same slow rhythm. The empire is vast, but it feels like one place in this moment. One shared silence. One soft breath. Even the sea rests. The waves lap gently against the hulls of ships in the harbor. Ropes sway softly. Lanterns swing. Sailor murmurs in his sleep, then turns over. On a hillside beyond the city, an astronomer looks up. His eyes trace constellations. He whispers their names like old friends. He knows their movements. He understands their stories. But tonight he does not study. Tonight he simply watches. The sky's too beautiful for anything else. Lies back in the grass and lets his thoughts drift like clouds. On all across the Roman world, from stone cities to desert camps, from marble villas to wooden huts, the people rest. Some with dreams, some without, some with memories, some with hopes, but all wrapped in the same night. The empire does not shout. It does not need to. It whispers. It hums. It breathes. And you, still and quiet in your own space, breathe with it. Slowly, gently, calmly, the night holds you. The silence soothes you. Sleep, like the Roman dusk, arrives without a sound. A soft drizzle begins to fall over the city as the earliest light of morning returns, barely touching the tops of buildings and the tips of cypress trees. The rain is light and slow, soaking into the dry stone paths, washing dust from windowsills, and gathering in quiet puddles that reflect the awakening sky. A few birds stir in the rooftops. Their wings shake off the water. Their songs are gentle, scattered barely above a whisper. Inside a quiet home, a servant wakes before the others. She moves through the rooms on bare feet, opening shutters, stirring the embers in the hearth, and preparing water for washing. The smell of rain slips through the window. She breathes it in, and for a moment, stands completely still. Outside, the streets are empty except for the quiet rhythm of rain. The market stalls are covered. The carts are waiting. But the city does not mind the delay, allows the world to move more slowly. People rise later. They sit longer over morning meals. They speak with softer voices. In the countryside, a farmer steps into the field holding a wool cloak over his shoulders. He looks up at the sky at the steady drizzle and smiles. The soil will be ready soon. He walks through the vines with care, brushing his hands along the damp leaves. He speaks to his dog without looking. A simple word, and the dog trots ahead. Together they make their way through the rows. Not working, just watching, just knowing. Along the riverbank, a fisherman waits beneath a tree. His net is coiled neatly beside him. He watches the surface of the water ripple beneath the falling rain. He hums something tuneless, not a song, but a sound that carries the feeling of peace. Behind him, the village is quiet. Only smoke from a few chimneys marks the start of a new day. In a villa closer to the sea, the master of the house stands on the balcony, sipping warm wine mixed with herbs. He wears a soft tunic. His sandals are damp. He looks across the garden where the rain pools among the flowers. He feels the weight of the cup in his hand, the coolness of the stone beneath his feet, the steady rhythm of drops on the roof tiles. These things are enough. In a schoolroom tucked beneath a wide veranda, a teacher unrolls a scroll and waits. The students arrive one by one, shaking water from their cloaks, wiping their sandals. They sit on wooden benches and open their wax tablets. The teacher writes the day's lesson on a board with slow strokes. The sound of rain is all around them. It makes the room feel safe. The lesson begins. One child yawns. Another sharpens his stylus. Outside the door, the rain falls gently, and the world seems wrapped in wool. Far away, at the edge of a forest, a small group of travelers huddle beneath a lean-to. One stokes a fire while another breaks dry bread into pieces. They pass around a water skin and speak little. Their eyes are heavy from walking. Their feet are sore. But the rain comforts them. It cools their skin. It reminds them they are not alone under the sky. One man leans back and closes his eyes. He says he once saw a rainbow rise over the temple of Jupiter. The others nod. No one asks for details. The image is enough. In the city, the baths are quieter than usual. Steam curls up into the damp air. A few men sit on benches, towels across their laps, saying little. The warmth of the water soothes their muscles. One dips his hand beneath the surface and watches the ripples fade. Another leans against the wall and lets his eyes close. The sound of rain mixes with the sound of breath. It is peaceful, kind of stillness that goes deeper than silence. In the fabric market, two women stand beneath an awning. They hold cloth up to the light and compare textures, colors, weight. One touches a pale blue linen and smiles. She runs her hand along it again and again. They speak quietly about patterns, about upcoming festivals, about who might wear what. Around them, the air smells of wet stone and dye. A boy passes carrying a tray of figs covered with a cloth. He offers them to the women. They each take one. The boy nods and continues down the road. The women eat the figs slowly. The juice is sweet. The moment is small but full. On a rooftop above the temple district, a gardener checks the planters. The herbs are wet but healthy. The rain has brought life to the leaves. He snips a few sprigs of mint and basil and tucks them into a cloth pouch. He kneels beside a long wooden box where wildflowers are just beginning to show their color. He whispers something under his breath, not to anyone in particular, just to the plants. He believes they grow better when they're spoken to. In the temple of Vesta, the sacred flame still burns. The rain cannot touch it. Inside the circular walls, the priestess sits alone, eyes half closed, listening to the world outside. The flame flickers. Her hands rest in her lap. She does not speak. She does not move. Her stillness is part of the ritual, part of the long, unbroken chain that reaches back through time. The rain taps on the dome above. She listens to it. It becomes part of the moment. In a bakery near the southern gate, the ovens burn steadily. The baker's son pulls a tray from the fire, places it on a wooden board, and breathes in the scent of warm bread. He glances outside and sees the line forming, people waiting beneath cloaks and cloths, their hands outstretched. He opens the door. The warmth spills into the street. He smiles. He begins to pass out loaves. Each one is wrapped in cloth. Each one carries the comfort of the day. The people say thank you in quiet voices. They take the bread and walk away slowly. None of them rush. No one complains. The rain has made everything feel slower, softer. In an upstairs room of a house near the forum, a woman writes in a small notebook. The window is open. A candle burns beside her. She writes about the weather, about a dream she had the night before, about how her daughter danced in the hallway, and how the dog chased its own tail for what seemed like hours. She pauses. She listens to the rain. She smiles. She writes one more line. Then she puts the pen down and rests her head on her folded arms. Below her, the city breathes. The rain continues. The world is clean. The air is full. Time moves forward, but it does not hurry. And for now, everything is exactly as it should be. As the rain begins to fade, the sound of droplets slows to a quiet tapping against the roof tiles and the soft splash in shallow puddles along the streets. The clouds part little by little, letting shafts of golden light break through and spill across the city walls. The statues, the temples, and the tiled rooftops. The sky begins to glow with a gentle warmth. A new stillness fills the air, one that follows the rain like a sigh after a long breath. In a garden surrounded by tall walls, a child walks barefoot across the damp stones. She carries a clay bowl filled with petals and small leaves. She arranges them carefully along a shallow basin, watching as they float and turn slowly in the water. Her mother watches from the doorway, arms crossed lightly over her chest. She does not speak. She simply watches as her daughter turns ordinary leaves into a kind of ritual. Inside the home, the grandfather sits with a warm cloth over his knees. He peels an apple slowly, placing the slices on a wooden plate. He hums to himself. Not a song, but a pattern of sound that rises and falls with the ease of habit. The scent of fresh herbs from the kitchen blends with the earthy smell of the rain still clinging to the walls. Outside, the shopkeepers begin to open again. Doors creak. Cloth awnings are lifted. The sound of wooden shutters being folded back joins the light wind that now moves through the alleys. A cart passes slowly, pulled by a donkey whose hooves make soft thuds against the wet ground. The driver nods to a passerby. They exchange no words, only a look of shared understanding. Life resumes its rhythm, not rushed, just present. 8. In a square near the baths, a sculptor wipes the face of his statue with a clean cloth. The marble is damp, and the water brings out the delicate lines he carved into the surface. The statue is of a woman, eyes closed, arms outstretched. He takes a step back and looks at her with quiet pride. He does not speak. He does not explain. He simply stands beside her as if they are both watching the world return. A young man passes by with a basket of grapes, stops, looks up at the statue, then continues on. The grapes are for his grandmother, who waits with a blanket across her knees in the upper room of their home. She no longer walks far. She no longer hears well, but her eyes are sharp. She sees the colors in the sky, the movement of birds, the way people carry themselves through the day. When her grandson enters the room and places the grapes beside her, she smiles. She says nothing, kisses her on the forehead, then sits with her as they listen to the wind moving through the window. On the outskirts of the city, farmers gather near the edge of a large field. The rain has softened the earth. They begin to till the soil with long-handled tools, their hands practiced and sure. They do not speak much, but when they do, it is with laughter. One tells a joke. Another rolls his eyes. The sun begins to warm the field. Birds gather along the edges, hopping through the turned earth. Farther along the road, a group of boys chase each other through a vineyard. Their shouts rise and fall like music. One stumbles and laughs. Another climbs onto a low branch and calls to the others. The grapes are small but forming. They'll be ready in time. The owner of the vineyard leans on his staff and watches them. Remembers when he ran like that, bare feet against the stones, sun in his eyes, hands stained with fruit. Does not interrupt them. Lets the memory fill him. Near the forum, an elderly woman sells bundles of dried herbs. She arranges them in neat rows across a cloth spread on the stone. Lavender, sage, rosemary, mint. A passerby stops and selects 2 bundles. The woman wraps them slowly, tying the string with care. The buyer thanks her with a nod. The old woman smiles but says nothing. Her eyes follow him as he walks away, then turn back to the small empty space on her cloth where the herbs had been. In a shaded portico, a boy reads from a scroll, while his father listens. The boy's voice is soft, the rhythm uncertain. The father does not correct him. He only listens, nodding slowly, his eyes half closed. When the boy finishes, they sit together in silence. The scroll is rolled up and tied. The sun has risen fully now. The streets are drying. The sounds of work and movement return, but gently. In the harbor, sails are lifted once more. A merchant climbs onto a ship bound for the eastern provinces. He stands at the edge, looking out over the water. He touches the ring on his finger, then raises one hand in farewell to the woman standing on the dock. She does not wave, only holds his gaze until he disappears. Then she turns and walks away, slowly, with the grace of someone used to waiting. In the hills beyond the city, 2 lovers lie in the grass. They speak in quiet tones, laughing softly at small thoughts. The girl plucks blades of grass and weaves them into a ring. She places it on his finger. He pretends it is gold. She tells him it is better than gold. He agrees. They do not speak of the future. They do not name their fears. They only lie there side by side, watching clouds move. In a tower that rises above the city, a bell is rung once. The sound spreads outward like ripples. People pause for just a moment. It marks the hour, but no one rushes. It is only a note in the music of the day. A reminder that time flows but always returns. In the temple of Saturn, the doors are open. A few visitors enter, touch the columns, whisper quiet prayers. One kneels beside the altar and lays a single coin. The priest nearby watches without moving. He understands the language of silence. Outside the temple, the breeze returns, carries the scent of warm bread, stone dust, and something floral, maybe jasmine. The city is fully awake now, but the softness remains. The peace lingers in the corners, in the spaces between footsteps, in the pauses between words. And even as life moves forward, the memory of the rain holds everything in gentle balance.